The cafeteria went silent. Trays froze midair. Every eye turned toward the corner where a tall, arrogant boy had just mocked the new black girl who'd transferred that week. He called her names, laughed at her skin, and tried to show off in front of his friends. But he had no idea. The girl he was bullying wasn't weak. She was the daughter of a decorated martial arts instructor and had faced much worse in life. When he tried to grab her arm and push her, she didn't flinch. Instead, something happened that no one in that cafeteria would ever forget. What unfolded next left the bully crying on the floor, and the whole school learned a powerful lesson about respect and justice. It was the first week at Jefferson High. The cafeteria buzzed with laughter, noise, and teenage drama. In the corner sat Ava, a quiet new girl with deep brown skin and calm eyes that carried stories no one there could understand. She had just moved from another city after her mother got a new job as a teacher. Ava was shy, polite, and always kept to herself. But peace never lasts long when ignorance walks loud. Blake, the school's notorious bully, noticed her sitting alone. Surrounded by his friends, he smirked and said, "Hey, new girl, you lost or something?" His friends laughed. Ava ignored him, hoping it would end there. But it didn't. He kept pushing, mocking her accent, her hair, her skin color. The cafeteria began to grow quiet as people turned to watch. Ava lowered her eyes, holding back tears, whispering, "Please, stop." But Blake didn't stop. He slammed his hand on her table, spilling her drink, and said, "You don't belong here." That was the moment everything changed. Because Ava wasn't just any girl. She carried her father's teachings in her heart. Never start a fight, but never walk away from injustice. The cafeteria went completely silent. The sound of Blake's palm slamming on the table echoed like a challenge. Ava took a deep breath, her hands trembling, her heart pounding against her ribs. All eyes were on her, some waiting for her to cry, others praying she wouldn't. Blake leaned closer with a cruel grin. "What's wrong? Don't you understand English?" he said mockingly, his friends laughing behind him. Ava stood up slowly, her chair scraping the floor. She wasn't tall. She wasn't loud, but the calmness in her eyes made Blake take a small step back. "I understand," she said softly, her voice steady. "But you clearly don't understand respect." A hush fell over the crowd. Blake laughed sarcastically and grabbed her wrist. "Oh yeah, you gonna teach me respect?" He sneered, twisting her arm slightly. Ava winced but didn't scream. Then something shifted. Her expression hardened, not in anger but in quiet strength. "Let go," she said firmly. He didn't. He tightened his grip. That's when Ava remembered her father's voice again. "Never let fear make you small. Ava, you have strength in you they can't see." In a swift motion, she turned her wrist, broke free from his grip, and pushed him back with a controlled force. Blake stumbled, crashing into the table behind him, knocking over a tray of food. Gasps filled the room. For the first time, the bully looked small. His friends froze. The teachers rushed in, shouting, "What's going on here?" Ava stepped back, breathing hard but composed. "He tried to hurt me," she said, her voice trembling but clear. Everyone saw the red mark on her wrist. Everyone had seen what he did. Blake tried to talk his way out. "She started it, But before he could finish, Mr. Daniels, the principal, walked in. "Enough," he roared. "I saw everything from the security cameras. You'll explain this in my office, Blake." The crowd murmured as Blake was led away, his face red, his bravado gone. Ava stood quietly as one of the teachers guided her to the nurse's office. That day, the whole school saw something they couldn't unsee. A girl they thought was weak had stood up against hate. By the next morning, whispers spread through every hallway. Some called her brave. Some felt guilty for laughing. And Blake? He didn't show up to school for 2 days. When he finally did, something unexpected happened. He walked straight to Ava's table, no friends, no laughter, and said quietly, "I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't enough, but it was a start." Ava looked up, nodded, and said, "Thank you. Now you understand." The cafeteria, once filled with noise and cruelty, had learned something powerful that week. That silence can be broken, hate can be challenged, and respect can be earned. The next week, the school held a special assembly, a respect and unity meeting organized by the principal after the cafeteria incident went viral on social media. Someone had recorded the whole thing. The video showed Blake grabbing Ava's arm and then being thrown backward by a girl half his size. It had millions of views now. Ava sat quietly in the front row, her hands folded. She hadn't wanted fame. She just wanted peace. But life had other plans. Blake stood on the stage, pale and nervous, his voice shaking as he faced hundreds of students. I was wrong, he said. I thought being tough meant making others feel small. But I was just scared of being weak, and I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. The hall was silent. Even the teachers looked stunned. Ava watched him, her eyes soft but unreadable. Then the principal invited Ava to speak. She hesitated, her heart thumping. When she finally stepped up to the microphone, the room leaned in. I came here to learn, she began, not to fight. But sometimes when people see your skin first, they forget to see your heart. Her words hung in the air like a quiet storm. I'm not strong because I fought back, she continued, glancing at Blake. I'm strong because I didn't let hate change me. Racism tries to make you angry, bitter, broken, but I choose to rise above it. The crowd erupted into applause. Some students stood. Even the teachers wiped away tears. Blake lowered his head, tears finally falling from his eyes. He walked toward Ava, still trembling. I don't expect you to forgive me, he whispered, but I'm sorry. Ava nodded gently. It's not about forgiving you, she said. It's about making sure no one else goes through what I did. That moment, a white boy crying in front of the same crowd that once cheered him on, became a symbol of something greater than just a fight in a cafeteria. It became a story about change, about courage, about breaking the cycle. Because that day, a school learned that real strength isn't in power or fear, it's in humanity. If you believe that kindness and justice always win, write justice in the comments. After the assembly, something remarkable began to happen across the school. The same hallways that once echoed with whispers and judgment now carried softer voices. Voices that began to question, to understand, to grow. The fight that had once divided everyone became the spark that started an unexpected change. Blake didn't return to his old ways. He started volunteering for the school's peer support program, helping younger students with anger management. He even stood up to other bullies who mocked new students. He wasn't doing it for attention anymore. He was doing it to make things right. One afternoon, Ava was sitting under the big oak tree near the courtyard when Blake approached her again. He handed her a small notebook. I started writing, he said quietly. About what I did. About what I learned. Ava opened the notebook. Inside, the first page read, Real courage isn't about being feared. It's about being fair. She smiled for the first time since the incident. That's a good start, she said. From that day on, their unlikely friendship became a story everyone talked about. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Two people from opposite sides of a wall built by ignorance and prejudice had started breaking it down. Brick by brick. Months passed. The video of the cafeteria fight had traveled far beyond the school. It reached city news outlets, and people began to talk, not about violence but about accountability. Parents called the school to thank Ava for showing their children what grace looked like. Teachers started holding respect weeks, where students shared their stories about discrimination and kindness. Ava was invited to speak at a youth conference about equality. Standing on stage with thousands watching, she said, Racism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the silence, in the looks, in the assumptions. But silence can also be broken, if we choose to speak not in anger, but in truth. Her words hit hearts like arrows. That speech went viral too, but this time it wasn't because of a fight. It was because of forgiveness, empathy, and the reminder that justice isn't just about punishment. It's about transformation. When Ava returned home that evening, her mother hugged her tightly. You didn't just defend yourself, baby, she said softly. You defended everyone who's ever been treated like less. Ava's eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of pride. She realized that her story wasn't about revenge. It was about redemption, about showing the world that dignity cannot be taken away by hate. Because in the end, racism may break people's hearts, but courage, respect, and justice rebuild them stronger than before. And as Ava wrote in her journal that night, sometimes standing up once can teach a whole generation how to never kneel to injustice again. If you believe truth, respect, and justice always win, write justice in the comments.